My question for you today is, how many of you would like a child-proof marriage, a kid-proof marriage? A marriage that does more than just survive those child-rearing years, but also thrives during those years despite the chaos that can ensue. Stick around and you're going to learn a little bit more about how to create that in your marriage. If you don't know me yet, I'm Tracy and I founded Marriage Confetti to give you a biblical foundation on marriage and also some practical, actionable steps that you can take to create a marriage that's worth celebrating. So if you're feeling frustrated in any part of your marriage, this is the place to be. So, true or false? Hi, Abby. True or false? Marital satisfaction decreases in over half of marriages after the birth of the couple's first child. Marital satisfaction decreases in over half of the marriages after the birth of a couple's first child. Do you think that is true or false? Put a T or an F for true or false or something in the comments to tell me, what do you think? Do you think more than half of marriages, the marital satisfaction goes down after the kids are born? Today we're going to look at 3 things that you can do that you need to establish in your family in order to have a kid-proof marriage. Not a kid-free marriage, a kid-proof marriage. And because you want your kids to respect the special bond that their mommies and daddies have. So we talked last week about reconnecting, and sometimes you really want to reconnect with your spouse, but the kids are just always there. There's always something that they need, and you feel guilty for wanting to spend time with your spouse when you know that your kids are there needing your attention. You think about a typical day, depending on the age of your kids, you have a lot of things that you need to do with them. You need to be taking care of feeding them, getting them breakfast, taking care of their lunches, either packing them or making sure they have lunch money. Then you have to plan a good, healthy dinner for the whole family for the evening. And when the kids come home, they've got lots that they want to say to you. You have to have snacks around. Make sure you have enough of those, especially if you have teenage boys living in your house, because they will eat you out of house and home. Got any boy moms out there? I know a few that have 3 boys and just cannot keep any food in the house. And so you have all those things that you need to take care of. And your spouse comes home, or you come home and you sit down and I want to just share something together. And your spouse starts to tell you something, and suddenly you hear this blood-curdling scream from the other room because 2 of the kids are fighting. Or you sit down and you sit on the couch, you kind of put your arms around each other, and the next thing you know, you got a little toddler crawling up in between you. My point for today is that your kids should understand that that you love them. And we know that our kids are a huge responsibility, but they're also our greatest joy. But you have to keep your marriage strong too. So you need to set some boundaries and learn to, at times, prioritize your spouse over your kids. Now, in today's society, a lot of people will tell you that their kids come before everything else, including their spouse. And it's gotten to a point almost in society where people, if you say, well, I don't, of course my kids come first, my husband, whatever, or of course my kids come first. Whatever time I have for my wife is fine, but my kids come first. You hear that so often that people who prioritize their marriage over their kids are sometimes even ostracized or made fun of, or people try to make them feel bad. Hi, Nicole. People try to make us feel bad when we say that our husband is more important to us than our kids. Not more important, but that they have a priority over our kids. That relationship has to have a priority to it. One of our 7 mindsets for marriage success is setting proper priorities. And in those priorities, your spouse should be number 2. God first, then your spouse, in that order. And it does not mean that you are ignoring your kids or putting them aside or not taking care of their needs. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. But you can meet all the needs of your kids and still meet the needs of your spouse and still feed that relationship. But how do you do that? What do you need to do? What are some ideas, some tricks, some tips that you can use to try and help you try and put your spouse first? So I have 3 things today that you may want to try and establish in your family life to make your kids understand and help you to prioritize your marriage over the needs of your kids every single moment of every single day. First, you need to create an expectation. And this expectation is that your kids understand that mom and dad need time together. Yes, we love you, but we have to be together too. They need to know that you need some alone time with your spouse. It needs to be a part of their lives to know that their parents love each other. It keeps them secure in their lives now, and it also gives them a great role model when they go to start looking for a spouse of their own, that they can look back at what they saw in their own families. So each day you need to demonstrate that your relationship with your spouse is important to your kids. Talk at the table after dinner. We used to do that all the time, and refuse to be interrupted for anything less than, flowing blood and breaking bones. Because for the most part, your kids will be fine for a few moments while you sit and talk. Depending on the age of your kids, maybe the kids are nearby, whatever, but you still need that time. And then another thing that you can do each day to kind of make that mindset in your kids, that expectation, let them see you giving each other a hug or giving each other a kiss. And we used to do that all the time in our house, and my kids would, especially when they got older, we got the ew and get a room, they used to say. We'd say, we do have a room. We own the whole house, so, if you don't like this, you can go to your room. But they know, and I know now that they remember that, and even though they may still make fun of us for it, they know that they didn't have to worry about their parents not loving each other because they saw that every day. Also, if you take some time and spend just some quiet time alone with each child every now and then too, right, Ab? If you spend some time just with a child and make that one-on-one connection with them every so often too, I think that would help them understand even more that, when I get this alone time, as they get older, they'll understand, okay, that's good for them to be alone, because I like my time alone with mom too, that kind of. So you can create an expectation in your house. You can create time. And last week's live, we talked about a lot of things that you could do to increase the amount of time you have to spend with your spouse. And I just want to look at a couple things today that specifically apply to your children. And one thing that you can do is to have a set bedtime every night. All the kids go to bed at the same time. Now, you may have older kids that aren't going to want to be in bed at the same time that a 2-year-old is, but maybe you could have a little bit later time for them, but still a certain time, and maybe they're allowed to stay up and read or something like that quietly in their room, but that is your time alone in the evening with your spouse. Or if your spouse works during the day and gets up really early, maybe you want to get up early with them. Or you just want to know that you have Saturday morning where you can just relax and talk together. And you can do that even by setting a wake up time, by saying, this is the time all of you will stay in bed until you'll stay in your room until, if you wake up early, you can play, but this is the time you're going to stay there till. And it works really well with older kids, of course, because they can tell time and they understand all that. But even with younger kids, they have some really cute clocks out now that you can set a wake up time, and the clock will light up or play music whenever it's time that they can come out of their room. So you can get maybe that morning coffee time with your spouse before they rush off to work, or you can, let's say Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings before church, they don't come out for a certain amount of time. That gives you a little bit of time, and again, creates a routine, a consistent routine for your kids, which is always good for kids to have a consistent routine. When it comes to date nights and going away together, I know those can be tricky, especially if you live far away from anybody who can watch your kids. But if you need to go on a date night, you have to have a friend somewhere, or maybe a couple from church that is in the same kind of a stage as you are. Maybe they don't have family nearby. You can do the trade-off. We'll watch your kids, and then when you want to go out, we'll watch yours, and when we want to go out, you can watch ours, and get that kind of trading going on between the two of you. And if you have family far away and you want to go away for a weekend, one possibility is to plan your getaway for a place close to your family. You don't have to tell them you're getting that close to them. You're going to be that close, but so that you can just drop the kids off at grandma's and then head off for your time away. So it's great about cell phones. you can be uninterrupted during that time unless the family really. And the last thing I want to talk about is creating space for your marriage. We made our bedroom a kid-free zone most of the time. Our bedroom was just for us. And if you set up a kid-free bedroom, a kid-free space, then you know that you have that opportunity to be alone with your spouse in that room. I know a lot of people out there are really into co-sleeping, and that's a personal choice for your family. We never chose to do it. And I think because we wanted to make sure that we had that time together. Because finding the time to reconnect with your spouse is hard enough. And it's even harder when there is literally a person between you. So we liked to make sure the kids knew that that was for us. Our room, the door was always closed. Day or night, it was always closed. It was just our spot, our place together. And so if you want to try and make a kid-free space, it's just part of the expectations, again, that room is just for mom and dad. You're allowed in there when we say it's okay, but for the most part, you're out. And really, there was never a huge question about having that room. Earlier in this session, I asked you a true or false question. And I said, marital satisfaction decreases in over half of marriages after the birth of the couple's first child. Do you think that is true or false? Abby earlier said she hopes not. Well, true or false? It's actually true. More than half, but only marginally. It was 51 to 49. 51% of people said that their marital satisfaction either went down or stayed the same right after the birth of a child, when they started having kids in the house. But 49% said it got worse, that their marital satisfaction went down. And so it's pretty much a 50-50. But if you want to make sure that your marriage is one of those marriages that gets better with time, even though there's kids in the house, then it just takes a little bit of planning and a lot of intentionality, saying, we're going to do this. We're going to make sure we make the time for each other. You have to make a decision to prioritize your relationship with your spouse. So, as I let you go today, I want you to remember 3 things. Create an expectation, create the time, and create the space for you and your spouse, so that your kids know that your relationship and your marriage is important as well. So the more consistent you are with any of these ideas that you implement, and the longer you wait and make sure that it's catching on and wait for it to take hold, because sometimes it's not going to take hold in 24 hours. It's going to take a little bit. But the more you're committed to it, the better chance you have of it succeeding, which will make your marriage succeed and be even better. So if you enjoyed today's live, I invite you to click like on the Marriage Confetti page on Facebook, and that way you'll know when we're doing our next lives, and you'll also get some other information that we put out. And if you want even more, you can head over to marriageconfetti.net, sign up for our email list. We got some cool freebies over there that can help you create a marriage that's worth celebrating today.